Attending via Zoom, please have microphones muted at times when you are not speaking. All items on the agenda other than correspondence and board and staff member reports are considered items for which the board may take action. The public will be given an opportunity to comment on action items on the agenda when the item is heard, and comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per individual or group.
All right. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then I don't think I arranged for anybody to do the invocation today, so I guess I'll do it. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the power, kingdom, and glory forever and ever. Amen. All right, we will move on then to consent agenda.
Through the chair, I have to do roll call.
Go ahead.
Supervisor Vasquez? Supervisor House?
Here.
Supervisor Fuhrer?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford is absent, and Supervisor Messick.
Here. All right. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be action items that are routine and can be enacted in one motion.
Move to approve. Through the chair. I'd like to request that item 360 be pulled from consent agenda.
Perfect. We will pull 360.
And then I'd also like to disclose that I'm a teacher at Yuba County Office of Education. I teach welding, and I don't have any conflict with today's agenda item that's on consent.
All right. I have a first.
Second.
All right. Is there any public comment on the consent agenda? All right. And with the exception of 360, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And we will move to special presentations, Mr. Messick.
Special presentation, item 375-2026, present proclamation to Cheryl Cornell honoring her years of service.
So Cheryl's not here today, so Jamie's here to accept this on her behalf. Now we'll read this proclamation honoring eligibility supervisor Cheryl Cornell. Whereas Cheryl began her distinguished career at the Yuba County Health and Human Services in 1999 as an office assistant, where she coordinated communications, responded to calls from individuals seeking assistance, supported field staff, and ensured that critical information was delivered promptly and accurately. And whereas through the perseverance and commitment, she advanced to the role of eligibility technician, laying the foundation for a career supporting individuals and families in need. Later, during her tenure as a social worker, she worked closely with families, participating in the Welfare to Work program, helping them build skills, overcome barriers, and progress towards self-sufficiency and long-term stability. And whereas her commitment to service and leadership culminated in her role as eligibility supervisor, where she played a vital role in implementing the massive changes brought about by the Affordable Care Act, ensuring that complex new requirements were integrated smoothly and that Yuba County residents continue to receive seamless access to services and the highest standard of care, which have made an enduring difference in the lives of countless individuals and families throughout Yuba County. And whereas, in addition to her professional accomplishments, Cheryl has demonstrated extraordinary compassion outside of the workplace through her dedication to rescuing and caring for stray cats and dogs, reflecting the same kindness and commitment that she has shown throughout her public service career. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Yuba County Board of Supervisors hereby commends Cheryl Cornell for her 27 years of outstanding and dedicated service to the citizens of Yuba County and expresses heartfelt appreciation and best wishes for a happy and healthy and fulfilling retirement. So, that.
Public communication.
Public communication. Any person may speak about any subject or concern, provided it is written within the jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors and is not already on today's agenda. The total amount of time allotted for receiving such public communication shall be limited to a total of 15 minutes, and each individual or group will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Prior to this time, speakers are required to fill out a request to speak card and submit it to the clerk of the Board of Supervisors. Please note, no board action may be taken or comments made under this heading. And through the chair, we do have 3 cards and no hands on Zoom. The first one we have is Tony Farley.
I'll be saying happy retirement, December, man. Congressman Andy. Thank you, Yuba County, for his service. Thank you, Yuba County. Yuba County is part of the greater Sacramento Valley region. We need Yuba County have a caucus in Sacramento Legislature, hopefully. Thank you, County Administrator Kevin, for his service. Also, Chief Saxon. Thank you, Jan Bender, also a Sacramento Law School graduate, George graduate. Thank her for her service. George, love George. Thank you, Seth Fuhrer, for his service. He's a George graduate too, out of Sacramento too. George and taxes law and taxes. Don't forget Jeff Will versus IRS. He'll win versus the IRS. You'll beat the IRS. And Super Stallion John Messick. Thank him for his service. Talents for Super Stallion. Big House, Supervisor House for his service. And thank you, A. Vasquez, Yuba County Reserve Deputy Officer, lifetime BW, and U.S. Marine Corps. Hoorah! And don't forget, thank Izzy for her service. And thank you for her service. And thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Tom Porter, Republican Central Committee. Thank you for his service, UP Party. Thank you, Dispatch Supervisor for his service. Thank you, our Sheriff. And thank you, Captain from FBI for his service. And thank you, Kyle, Kyle from Linda Fire Protection. And thank you, Germany, and thank you, Public Works Director, our Community Director, and thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Probation. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Tony.
Next, we have Kelly Green.
Good morning, and thank you for having us here today. I am here, my daughter's here. She's going to take her 3 minutes in just a couple minutes when I'm all done. But I'm here to talk about the National Pumpkin Weigh-Off, and that will be hosted at Bishop's Pumpkin Farm on Saturday, September 26th. It is the 4th year that this event will be held here in Yuba County, and winners from this competition come from all over. We have met growers who have trailered pumpkins and brought them all the way here from Canada. So I think Canada, Oregon, Colorado, we had someone from Colorado last year. And I think it's a fantastic event that highlights all that we have to offer here in Yuba County. It has one of the largest prize pools in the world for national pumpkin growing competitions or international pumpkin growing competitions. And what keeps us coming back every year and why we are so heavily involved is this competition, ours specifically, has placed a huge focus on involving future farmers and kid growers from across the region. So we have spent a lot of time fostering young growers of pumpkins, giant pumpkins, field pumpkins, watermelons, and by getting seeds into their hands and really fostering that or mentoring them throughout the growing process. We are very lucky to have the support of so many local sponsors like Hard Rock, Steinman's, and everybody else who has been so wonderful to be involved and support us throughout the time. We became accidental pumpkin farmers. Somebody put a couple plants in our hands probably about 4.5 years ago or so, and we're very competitive. And we are good friends with some retired walnut and prune farmers who were more than happy to get involved. And it is quite the learning process for all of us, especially for our kids. They've learned more about hard work. They've been out there at 5 o'clock in the morning learning about gophers and all kinds of other rodents and pests that have invaded our pumpkin patch. They have fought the mildew and the aphids. They have buried vines. They have dealt with water main breaks when we have had those issues happen in the past. But what keeps us coming back is probably the collegial sense of community that we all get from getting together and growing together and learning from each other. Previously, they were, I think growers kind of existed in silos and they liked to do their own thing. And they realize they can learn from each other. And the goal right now is to reach 3,000 pounds. And while our event is not as big as probably the one in Half Moon Bay or Elk Grove, we do hope to attract somebody with a 3,000-pound pumpkin here and have them bring it here to Wheatland, to Bishops, and compete. It's a really fun day. It's a fun event. What we have gotten from it, what the kids we have gotten involved have gotten in it from it, are life lessons that are just about as good as anything else you can get involved in agriculture. Because I think what we like to say is that not every kid can raise an animal and take it to fair, but this is another way for them to get involved. And I would, not to embarrass her, but you can get just as attached to your 1,600-pound pumpkin after spending 20 to 40 hours a week working on it, as you can any animal that you would take to fair. And we have maybe shed a couple tears over that. There's a lot of drama at the way off, but there's a lot of learning and a lot of fun that happens there too. So we appreciate everyone's support, and we're glad to have you and hope to see you out there in September.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Brielle Grin.
Good morning, everybody. Honestly, I don't have a super fancy speech for all of you because my mom mostly covered it. So I just wanted to say what a big impact giant pumpkin growing has on me. It's a great way to hang out with family, and I want to get as many kids involved as I can because honestly, it's just a great way to have fun. And the Pumpkin Way Off is one of my favorite days of the entire year because it's let's go see who has the biggest pumpkin, and everybody is so nice. You can walk around and they'll tell you all about their growing process. And honestly, just working out on the farm is one of the most fun things I've ever done because while some of it is not fun, like having rodents take over your pumpkin, especially when it was the biggest pumpkin you've ever grown, which happened last year, it's still a great way to learn about everything because it wouldn't be farming if things weren't, if things weren't destroyed by rodents or caught in a fire or something like that. There would be no learning experience. And honestly, that's one of my favorite parts of being a kid. And if I had my sisters here, they're not really public speakers. They're much younger than me, but they would tell you the exact same thing. They love it. And when we decided to take a break from it this year, they were like, oh my God, no, we can't take a break. But we're all still excited for the Pumpkin Way Off because we're going to go help out, see other people's pumpkins, and see how everybody else did this year. honestly, this year for me has not been about growing. It's been about trying to get kids involved because everybody at school is always asking, when do I start Giant Pumpkins? How do I get involved in this? And I'm like, when it comes April, I can get you a plant. So we had a bunch of baby pumpkin seeds and I brought them to my ag advisor and I said, here, why don't we start these and give them to as many kids as possible? Because most kids thought that it was really cool. They showed up to the way off and saw the huge pumpkins and they're like, oh my God, I want to do that. And honestly, every kid that I've talked to had a great time doing it. Honestly, even some kids only got a couple 100-pound pumpkins, but that doesn't matter. It's just the fun that goes into it. Some of my close friends have tried it and they're like, this was so fun. My pumpkin wasn't that big, but it was still a great way to wake up every morning and saying, oh, I got to go check on my pumpkin and see if it's gotten any bigger. So I thank everybody for their support. And like my mom said, I hope to see you out there in September. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
All right. Do we want to go ahead and go then to item 360 under county departments?
Through the chair, I'll read the verbiage. So all matters listed under county departments and are action items which will be considered and voted on separately. And item 360-2026, Human Resource, approve amendment number 1 to the professional service agreement with Stability for the county's bi-weekly payroll frequency project.
Good morning, Board. Karen Fassler, Assistant HR Director with Human Resources.
Through the chair. Good morning, Karen. I asked to have the item pulled just because I kind of want to get a better understanding of what the purpose is behind the doubling in the contracted amount with the company that's helping us use a software that we already pay for. So I understand we're trying to split the monthly paychecks from 1 time a month to 2 times a month, and everybody went electronic. And but we pay for a service called UKG, I want to say, and they provide these intervals that you can select online. I was reading about it this morning. So I just want to know why we have a $100,000 contract with somebody to help us implement a software, though, when a lot of those things are actually, when you look on their website, it's something they advertise. So it almost seems like it should be included in your purchase of the UKG. So it's a big increase. It's a 100% increase over what was initially approved. And I also didn't see the source of the funds in the attachment. I just saw the resolutions and the contracts. So if you could provide all that, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, I will do my best to cover it all. So Stability, you're right that typically when new modules are purchased, which we are utilizing and implementing new modules in UKG Ready to include timekeeping, scheduling, and a leave of absence module. So beginning over a year ago, we contracted with Stability to do discovery work and lay the foundation for the change in implementing those new modules. Previously, or currently, we're using payroll services and payroll, but that doesn't include software that facilitates timekeeping in the system. So we're moving really from paper timesheets and Excel timesheets into a platform that is moving us into the century that we're in. Additionally, we're moving from the monthly to biweekly pay, which is a huge change in configuration. So we've partnered with Stability as opposed to including the implementation dollars in the contract with UKG Ready for the new modules. Oftentimes, implementation partnership is included there. We opted to utilize Stability, which is a UKG certified partner, as opposed to the UKG implementation teams, in part because it gives us more flexibility with what we're desiring to get from them. We have a project manager, we have a payroll expert, a timekeeping expert, which is a new platform for us in UKG and pretty complex. And we have an HR consultant that is working with us on the leave of absence module. The additional, or the increase, the ask to amend the contract to include the additional 50,000 was planned. And in our, we've got to get the terminology right, in our current proposed budget, we did anticipate needing that additional money, and we are now in the heaviest phase of the implementation. We're on track to go live 9/1. We are on track with the pay frequency change from monthly to biweekly, which is important to the county for a lot of reasons. It will allow us to comply more carefully with Fair Labor Standards Act. It is standard in most public agencies and for sure private entities, a biweekly pay as opposed to a monthly or a semi-monthly. Have I answered your questions? What's still outstanding?
Just so in the past, I was presented that this was the benefits of this were going to be like compliance with the Fair Labor Act, stuff like that. But so is there a cost savings behind this, or is this a continued cost, or are we taking on contract employees instead of adding headcounts? I mean, I know you say we have a project manager, but I know it's just for the implementation phase, I'm hoping. But
Yes.
So who takes over the work when that work is done?
We do. This is for contract expertise that is one-time build and configure, implement, test. They are also providing some of the change management, although primarily we're doing that internally. And as you know, the monthly to biweekly is a big change for our employees, and one that we've taken quite seriously in ensuring that we're communicating often and providing resources for our employees. Let me pause for a second. We don't anticipate future contracts with Civility. The additional amendment that I'm asking the board to approve will get us through this heaviest section of the implementation from now until go live, and then the stabilization period that follows, where we're all getting used to the new cadence and solving any potential problems that come up. At that point in time, the expertise that we will have utilized from Civility, we won't need anymore. We'll be established. We'll have the proper configuration in the system, and we'll be prepared to maintain that and continue. And we'll have a lot of experts too in our department. We're learning a lot, and not just utilizing Civility to do work for us, but to teach and train and provide documentation so that we can maintain it when we're done with the contract.
Thank you.
Welcome.
We have a public comment from Mr. McWhorter.
Good morning, Board. Tom McWhorter, Yuba County. Through the chair, I have a couple of questions kind of initiated by our Rennick House here. Main thing is they anticipated this, but when was the board informed of these cost increases? Why weren't we told up front? The question is also, where is this money coming from? Just a general budget, Measure K, just wondering. And I hope we don't have any amateurs in that office. She mentioned that, we're going to be experts. I hope they're experts right now. And it just seems to me that, they've got instructions, a little bit of coaching, I could see that. So really, we're paying $100,000 for setup and training. And that's the way I view it. And I'm like, wow, I wish I was making whatever they make per hour. Nowhere have I ever made that much. So, I know it's software, but I think fixing an airplane so it doesn't become a smoking hole in the ground is just as important, especially when people are going to San Diego just prior to their retirement. And anyway, if those questions could get answered, at least this constituent would be a little bit happier with the request.
Do we know what the hourly rate is for the contract? And what is that amount?
Through the chair. All of those are listed in the board packet, all the hourly rates. There's a breakdown for each type of position. But I did forget to get clarification on the source of the 50,000. Kevin, you could probably help with that.
Oh, turn on.
No, that's fine. Oh, there we go. Yeah, my button is intermittent. But anyways, along with all other payroll costs, they get distributed throughout the county, to the different departments. And so really the funding source depends on which department is paying for those payroll costs, right? But you take our payroll processing costs in aggregate, and then you distribute it by the employees that each department has.
So A87 charges?
Yeah, cost allocation plan, essentially.
Okay, so departments be aware.
All right. And then just a rough number, how much is the project manager per hour?
The rate per hour for each of the consultants that are on the project is a flat $215 per hour.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And so then we will move on to the next item, which is my favorite.
You haven't voted on that item yet.
Oh, we should vote on it?
Move to approve.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is 373-2026, Community Development and Services, approve plan specifications and estimate for the Olivers Roadway Climate Resiliency Project and authorize advertisement of bids for August 2026.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Brian Michelson, Public Works. This morning I'm here to ask that you adopt the plan specifications and estimates for the Olivers Climate Resiliency Project, as well as authorize the advertisement of that for construction. This project began when it was granted funding in 2023 in the order of about $48 million. The grant is a local transportation climate adaptation program grant, which is meant to install stormwater infrastructure to prevent flooding within neighborhoods or areas, communities. Fortunately with that, we're able to do complete streets projects with it on the surface once we reconstruct the roads. Excuse me. So we received approval in 2024 to start design. We did start that design, and it took about 2 years to finish design, which is very fast for a project of this size. The project includes 13 roads, approximately 5 miles of storm drain, approximately 9 miles curb gutter and sidewalk, 65 ADA ramps, new pavement, and bicycle facilities throughout. The project will significantly improve safety and circulation within this neighborhood, in this community. And if approved, construction will take about 2 to 2.5 years. With that, I am happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
If there's no other questions, so we got it in 23. We're going to start in 27, and then it will take 2.5 years from then. So we're not going to finish it till 2030.
Approximately, yes.
Okay, it seems like it's a long. I understand you mentioned earlier that this is fast for us, but it just seems long. I was under the impression when I first came on that we were on like a 5-year government plan, but it's more like a 7-year government plan.
Yes, it will wind up being about that. But as I mentioned, yeah, it is a very quick project. We've done a good job of keeping things on track. Design went quick. We'll get it out to bid, hopefully if approved today, and get it under construction as quickly as possible. Hopefully we can rein that in a little bit and deliver it sooner. But at the outside, it could be 2030, yes.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, just to understand the process, why is it so lengthy from the moment of inception to completion?
So with this particular project, we had approximately 20 right-of-way acquisitions that we had to process. We had to work with the homeowners, property owners to be able to get through that process. We had 3 permits, 2 with the Army Corps of Engineers, which take no less than 18 months, typically, sometimes up to 36 months. In this case, it was around the 18-month period. We also had a fish and game permit, 1602 stream bed alteration agreement, which we had to go through. What else was there? We also had to coordinate with utility companies, which is not a small task. So we worked through those issues. We're working through the relocations and trying to get the project going. So all these things, they sound like they may be straightforward, but they're not. There's a lot of work that's involved in those behind the scenes. A lot of meetings, phone calls, paperwork. It takes time.
Okay. And then what will the actual work of shovel and dirt look like? Will it be just during like 6 months of the year? Will it be all year round? Will it?
There is some work that can continue during the wintertime, utility relocation, some of these things. However, opening up streets, we need to be careful with that, and we'll probably have to winterize for portions of that and then come back in the spring.
Okay. And then what's the level of inconvenience? So if they're not going to be in front of a house for 2 years. Is it?
Yeah, good question. Thank you. So we're trying to stage it so there's not an overdue inconvenience to any one particular neighborhood, street, or resident. That'll be a process that we'll work through the contractor when they provide their staging plan. We'll work to do our best to minimize the inconvenience to anyone and everyone.
So like they won't be able to access their house for a week, a month? How long is it that they would not have access to their parking?
Sorry, we will provide access. We'll make sure that they can get home, they can access their property, and like I said, we'll minimize the inconveniences.
All right, great. Do we have public comment? No? Well, then I will move that we approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have 372-2026, County Administrators receive presentation regarding internal service funds, review and approve staff direction as appropriate.
Good afternoon, board members. Sean Powers, Assistant County Administrator. Going to do a quick presentation on just an update of what several of the offices in the county have been working on.
Wrong slide deck. Other slide deck, Tim.
Tim. Oh. All right, that's the next one. But again, we're not asking for any board action at our time. This is an opportunity just to give you an update and get some input from your board on the process. There we go. Today we're going to be talking about our internal service fund, or ISF is the nomenclature we like to throw around. Okay, so a little bit we're talking about, Supervisor House had mentioned a little bit, we're going to be talking about ISF versus A87 as far as cost allocation goes. They are two separate and distinct processes. We're going to talk about why we use ISFs, talk about some of the phase one findings. It's a little bit of an update that's coming out of this initial work that we've done so far, and also give you a sneak peek of future board actions we'll be coming back to you with later. So we do get this question a lot, ISF versus 87. They're both very distinctly different processes for allocating costs in the county. Tried to break this down as easy as we could. ISF, what services you use. 87, what countywide support costs benefit you. Different costs fit into those buckets separately for different reasons. They do use different rules, but they do help us get those full allowable costs spread throughout the county for reimbursement. And today we're only going to talk about the ISF portion. We can talk about 87 as a future date, but wanted to keep this within 87 for today's discussion. So why do our ISFs work? They are a good approach and a standard approach with public agencies in the state of California, cities, counties, and such. It does allow for cost transparency. You can see what actual costs you are receiving and what you're paying for those costs. Fairness between departments. The more you use, the more you pay versus smaller departments that maybe use yes. And then it also lets us get maximum reimbursement from our federal programs as far as grants and other things for cost recovery purposes. So why are we doing this kind of check-in right now? This is actually a routine process for all public agencies. If this was our dental work, this would be us going in for our routine checkup just for preventative care. It says that we're basically aligned with current best practices. We have to do this for both federal and state guidelines to continue to recur those costs. We have to do these reviews periodically. And more importantly, we need to make sure that our ISFs are financially stable, both today and for the long term, and also evaluate our reserve levels to make sure we can handle the programs and the cash flow. So kind of where we're at with phase one right now, these are some of the deliverables we're working on. We are finalizing a very comprehensive report on the review that we are going to bring back to your board at a future date. Two new ones that I'm very excited about, also having a policies and procedures manual, getting our processes documented, and also one that's really great is going to be a first day manager guide. We do a lot of throw you in the deep end on the job training, so we're going to have some documentation to give the new staff coming in to show them how this works. Also looking on our rate calculations for IT, also looking at what we put in ISF versus CAP. That's actually just another word for 87, that's cost allocation plan, as far as what bucket things should be in. Also looking at our workers' comp quarterly dashboard, because that itself is an ISF, and looking how that's tracking quarterly. And then we're also looking in the future to make more of an investment in GIS as far as that service that's used countywide. And then as we stand that up, how do we allocate those costs around the county? So we have some decisions to make there in the future on what we do with that. So good news, very happy to report as we get further into this review and we're completing this report, no comprehensive overhaul is needed. It basically says the foundations that we have built into our ISF program are sound, and we're doing a pretty good job with that. But there's always room for a little bit of fine tuning. We are trying to standardize things across all 9 of our ISF funds. We want to make sure departments' charges are easier to understand. We do get a lot of feedback from departments on the charges that they receive. Add documentation on our reserves, true-ups, and our billing rules, and kind of how our practices are applied. Our departments have given us very succinct feedback on making any changes. So as far as doing some pilot programs and some soft launches before we make their lives more challenging with change. And we're looking to start some of these processes in about the next 90 days, concurrent when your board would receive that report coming up. So a little bit what we're trying to get out of the policies and procedures manual, this is kind of a sneak peek, is again, cost neutrality and full cost recovery. Our ISFs, we don't want to charge more than we have to. We don't want to look for a profit. Also for cost recovery, we need to make sure we get fully reimbursed for those costs. Transparency, always looking to improve that with departments, and also standardization, making sure we're applying things consistently across our 9 different funds. So future things that we plan on bringing back to your board, and this is an opportunity for you to give input as well. Approve any updated rate methodologies, if any. We'll be bringing that policy and procedure back to your board. Definitely looking at reserve policies. That's going to be a very comprehensive review in this process. And also a lot of our ISFs are adopted by ordinance. So we're going to update or rescind those ordinances as needed through the ISF process. And also, this is an opportunity for your board to give any input and staff on what you'd like to see in the future as we present these items, and be happy to answer any questions.
Through the chair, just a couple items. So the ISF and A87 charges, thank you for the explanation on how they're different. Appreciate all the work you're doing to make it easier, not simpler, easier. But is there a alternative to this as a whole? Like, can each department just budget and pay their own bills, or is this something that has to happen because payroll is for everybody? Or
Supervisor House, great question. There is one alternative option, not getting into specifics of what there would be. You can get reimbursed a cost through ISF, through N87, or you could do a direct charge. We try to put a methodology that it's appropriate for the service that department's receiving. But there is an option for all of that. That is going to be looked at through all this process. But for specialized one-time projects, I think we can do a better job about looking at direct bill for certain services. But for ongoing recurring, those generally fall into an ISF or an 87 as far as a reimbursement goes.
Okay. And then as we go forward with a reserve policy, I mean, this is my my view on it is that I don't think that every department needs a reserve policy. I think public safety is one of them that does, right? But I don't think stuffing a whole bunch of money in different places is what's going to be prudent for the county. What needs to happen is if we have an economic downturn, the board needs to direct and make decisions that can affect the county and steer the policy. So I don't think we need individual, like a HHS and a CDSA bucket of money sitting there. We don't need to make it more complicated than it needs to be. We have a county-wide reserve and policies that govern that, how it's spent. So I hope it doesn't become more complicated in the reserve policies.
If I could, through the chair, and Sean, maybe you can elaborate on this, but it would be reserve policies based on the different ISF functions. For example, what's an appropriate level of reserve for our various insurances, so that way, if we have a spike or something unexpected, we can smooth. And another example would be the IT ISF. What if we have something catastrophic happen with our network? And so to kind of smooth those costs, having a reserve to be able to fix whatever that problem is. So that's really the conversation we'll have with the board is for those 9 different functions, what are appropriate reserve levels for those various functions? And then if the board so chooses, that maybe you want to limit those reserves because you want to use the county general fund reserve. That's something we can talk through as well to see what's appropriate from a county general reserve standpoint versus an ISF reserve. So, Sean, I don't know if...
Yeah, Supervisor House, Kevin did a great job at that. And I'll add on to that. Cash flow is the number one thing that's in there. You look at the ebbs and flows of just routine costs that go through the program. A lot of our reserves, we are established at like a 60-day reserve. So for just basic operations, nothing elaborate, we're finding those can be constricted for as far as cash flow goes. They can go into the red, get negative interest, and then have to come back out. So we're just doing a comprehensive overhaul on all of that, and all of that would come back to your board. And we're going to make recommendations mostly for just the year-to-year stability of those versus, anything in excess of what they would need to operate, and then also plan for unseen events. But those decisions will come back to your board.
Yeah, I still think we might be overcomplicating it because the funding or the money that's generated from our property tax revenue and different sources in the county should be re-implemented into the county. And I think that if we create reserve policies that increase how much money we're holding on top of our general fund reserves and our countywide reserves, we're going to be charging more ISF fees to each department. And then each department's going to have an increase in budget for that year. So we're going to have to inflate budgets for those years. And that could be quick deployable money we could use to fix roads, have planning for drainage, and take care of constituent concerns. So I'll continue to push back on that a little bit, but I would love for you to be creative and show us savings and how we can balance the county's needs and be ready for any spikes. Thank you.
And Supervisor House, we can definitely, as we bring those items forward, we can definitely address those questions.
Rich, did you want to make a comment?
I did. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Rich Eberly, Auditor Controller. I want to kind of add some input into the reserve. I appreciate Supervisor House asking questions about the reserve, and I do kind of echo the thoughts about having extensive reserves for various departments. The ISF funds operate a little bit differently, and I want to add that there's some additional monitoring that goes on with the state. Each year we report to the state, and they also do monitor our reserve levels. There's a specific threshold, as Sean mentioned. There's under normal circumstances, the state doesn't want any more than a 60-day working capital reserve in any of those ISFs. Additionally, if there are certain circumstances which necessitate holding on to money for longer than a year, then they ask that policies be established. That's one of the reasons why they recommend having updated or adopted reserve policies for ISFs. And the reason why that happens is because, say, for our energy ISF, say we need to replace the solar panels. And so we need to have some money set aside. That should be factored into the rate structure, and we hold on to that for a period of time so that we can replace the solar panels, but it usually takes longer than 60 days to build up that type of that level of resources to replace solar panels. Additionally, things like the fleet and any of the other reserves, any other ISFs that are there, they may have differing needs of when they should tap into resources or if they're accumulating resources to do a big project. So it's not they're not like operating reserves necessarily. They're typically reserves that allow them to continue to do what they were doing it in a better way. So I wanted to add that there because there's a little bit more restrictions on what those reserve policies can do, but the state does require in their reviews that they be adopted policies. And so that's one of the reasons why they're bringing that forward as well. So I just added some clarity on that.
All right, if there's no other public comment, then we will proceed to motion.
No actions required today unless the board wants to give any specific
Well, then
direction.
fantastic.
So just direction and a check-in board.
Okay.
All right,
Then
thank
we-
you.
Next is item 377-2026, County Administrators adopt resolution establishing Law Enforcement Stabilization Fund Policy B11 of the Yuba County Administrative Policy and Procedures Manual.
All right, once again, Sean Powers, Assistant County Administrator. Very pleased to be presenting this item today. This has been a lot of work from multiple departments to get us up to this point. And as far as some of our policy goes, this one was a heavy lift, so very happy to be presenting this. So looking at a new policy, Law Enforcement Stabilization Fund, B11, for your board. A little bit of history and background on this. This actually goes back to June 2005. You provide a little bit of input in your packet that shows some board action that was done as part of the 05-06 budget about how we handled a reserve with our safety departments back in the day. So we've been doing this for a while. We had this in a separate fund. We called it the Fund 108. Because your general fund is 101, so this was 108, so this was a separate fund outside of the general fund. For the most parts, the sheriff's budget operated in that 108 fund, which is basically says they're in kind of a separate fund off operating by themselves. So your up and downs as far as expenses and revenues actually live in that fund. So the prior Fund 108 basically served as a little bit of a savings account for a few divisions between the Sheriff's Department, Juvenile Hall, and a few other things, but it wasn't kind of a comprehensive fund for dealing with all that, but that was what they did at the time for the budget. Part of that board discussion back then was to also come up with a fund balance process through budget and task the three departments, probation, safety, and DA's office and auditor, controller, and county administrator to kind of come up with a plan on how this works. I think that process kind of happened organically through the budget process since then, and we're just trying to formalize that a little bit more going forward. But using that Fund 108 to balance some of the budgets and safety has been kind of a standard practice since then, and we're just trying just to formalize that. So where we are today, so kind of fast forward from back then up till July 2024, when we implemented the new financial system, that system required a complete chart of accounts change. So basically all of the account numbers needed to be updated. This was a 30-year process in the making, a big lift by the county, huge for the auditor controller's office, everybody else. And you're basically smashing the old with the new and trying to figure out how we're going to make it all work together. So part of that process with that change is the sheriff's budget did move into the general fund. So if we're using the old terminology now, they are sort of a 101 general fund department. It is where they receive most of their funding from. So we knew this at the time when we updated the financial system and changed the chart of accounts and knew where the 108 needed to go. So what do we need to do with it? I'm very pleased that we're finally at that process to adopt a new policy and get that taken care of. So I want to jump into the new policy. So again, named it the Law Enforcement Stabilization Fund. That's a name we came up working with the department. It's going to live in your Administrative Policies and Procedures Manual. That's where we handle all the budget and fiscal matters for the county. So it seemed like a good place to do it. And B11 was just the next number in line. So again, we're trying to get consistent standards, funding, and oversight within the fund with a formal policy. And financial stabilization helps with good fiscal management, looking long-term, which I like. And this is also a reference document on how this process works. It's a little bit technical because there's a lot of financial and accounting process in there, but we tried to make it as simple as possible. So basically what it does, it separates a stabilization fund that's actually calculated off the amount of general fund they receive. So we set that number at 12%. Why 12%? Back in the day, 10% used to be pretty good for any type of stabilization fund. That basically gives them about, at 12%, about a month and a half of operating reserves. So if we went above higher, I think it would be a goal we would not be able to fund adequately in a reasonable amount of time. So 12% seemed like a good place to start. And basically says unspent funds or any additional revenue can remain with that department. So if they get a windfall of extra revenue, or they actually don't spend some of the revenue we give them, they can have that available for future budgets. It serves as a funding source for surprises, expense increases, or other shortfalls. Prior to this, the 108, the departments did work collaboratively. You have a very good team of safety departments. When one is running short, they do get together and help each other out. So this still allows that sharing between those funds and those departments. And also, once this is fully funded, we generally refer to this as the sweep. It's once that's fully funded, any of those excess general funds that might still be available would then still go back to your general fund for availability of future budget process, which we repeat every year. And I can't emphasize enough how much this policy took to get to this point. Your sheriff's office, your DA office, your probation office, our auditor controller's office. This is a very heavy lift to get to this point, and I appreciate the collaboration between all those shops. So today we're only talking about the policy. The fiscal impact portion is going to come later. I'm not asking to put any money in there at this time. But a stabilization fund is only good when it is truly funded. So we're planning on targeting maybe up to about a $2 million contribution through this 3-year budget process, and that'll come with a future board action. And we typically do that at September when we finalize the budget and we look at some of the one-time things we can put money away for certain purposes with the approval of your board. Once this fund is established and funded, use of it will either come to your board through the budget process in adopting it, or we can bring a separate action at a given time where, just like any other surprise that might come up in the budget, we can bring that to your board through a budget adjustment as far as a potential funding solution to cover an expense. So with that, any questions or discussion on the policy itself, be happy to answer them.
So I guess my question is the 108 fund that we have currently is what percentage of their budget? If this is going to be 12%, is that around 12% as well, or is it higher or lower?
Through the chair, it was never a certain percentage. It was usually whatever they had left over from a prior year would be put in there. And on certain years, they would pull money from that as needed for budget purposes to balance or to move the actual cash.
So what's it at right now?
Well, actually, the Fund 108 doesn't exist anymore because when the chart of accounts actually changed, what would be in there right now went back into the general fund. Okay. So it doesn't exist currently right now. And the dollars that were in there are now sitting in the general fund as it is. So really there's not a set percentage of that, but before it never operated on any percentage.
And so one of the key points on this one you said was that it would encourage cost savings because it would be money that they would get to keep for themselves until it exceeded the 12%. Anything over the 12% would then revert back to the general. Is that correct?
That's correct.
The funds that you would present it on just previous to this, those do not work that way. There is no incentive for cost savings because the money that goes into there doesn't change. It stays at that set amount.
I was referring to the ISF for the presentation. The same thing with ISF a little bit. Those operate in a separate fund. So if ISF has a certain amount of funds, has to incur a certain number of expenses, if there's things left over, that balance would be taken into consideration for setting rates for the next year. So those unspent funds do remain with that particular ISF and that fund. So sort of the same methodology, yes.
Okay.
And through the chair. Thanks for the presentation, Sean. A couple of questions. So I know we kind of talked around the 108 thing. How much money was in the 108 fund when it was transferred to general fund?
With the chart of account change, that's kind of a tough one to answer. If you get two different numbers, I would think it was around 2 million at a certain time, but as far as an exact precise number, that one's a little bit more challenging. There's a lot of timing that goes into with closing out the books at the end of the year and what's accrued and what's not. So we kind of did a clean slate and we're shooting for just a round number to kind of say that's the starting number going forward. But what would have been in that cash is actually sitting there in your general fund currently.
Okay. And then they have different accounts for things like realignment dollars that come in, and like probation has money to build a campus, all that stuff that sits in different accounts then?
All of their regular accounting structure that was in place, all of that is still in place. This strictly goes to the future of what 108 used to be. So okay. This is a single fund transfer. Right now, there's not like sort of a parking space for this to go into and to get established and to be funded by how we did the chart of account change with the new financial system.
Okay, and we'll dig into this deeper at the budget hearings?
Repeat that.
We'll dig into this deeper at the budget hearings for the amounts and
We can provide some more information at budget hearing if you like, but this is simply to establish the policy and make sure that we have a methodology to do this in the future, and then maybe when we fund it, we can give you more information.
okay. I just want to make sure that we still have the money to do the important things. I know law enforcement's huge, and I don't know if there's extra money at the end of any year in law enforcement, but I want to make sure we still have the money to fix the roads, to complete promises that we make in the community, to be good stewards of their money, so that's where everybody has an impact. And every time we grow a reserve, it cuts how much money we have readily available to deploy in the county. So, I mean, a lot of money is passed through straight from the state, straight to the jail system, straight, to the sheriff's department, that kind of thing. But anytime we're talking just regular general fund, I'd just like to make sure that our constituents have as much available to spend on them each year as possible. So.
A great point, Supervisor House. We definitely take that into consideration. We cannot prop up one department heavy at the expense of the other ones. We try to find the balance of all things. The good news about this will be a one-time contribution this year, which we usually take out of the one-time funds to get it established, which is really typical what we do in September, because it gives us very good clarity on how we finish the year. And we bring all those to your board through the final budget process to say, hey, here's where we're putting things where we feel it's a good use of those funds. So not only your board be able to weigh in on it, we'll be able to discuss and update those. But yes, definitely, we have to make some tough choices on how we balance things.
Yeah, I'd move for approval.
I'll second.
Any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
All right, thank you.
Ordinances and public hearing. If you challenge in court the action or decision of the Yuba County Board of Supervisors regarding a zoning, planning, land use, or environmental protection matter made at any hearing described in this notice, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at such hearing, or in written correspondence delivered to the Yuba County Board of Supervisors at or prior to such hearing. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual or group. First item we have is 311-2026, Sheriff Coroner's Ordinance. Hold public hearing, waive second reading, and adopt ordinance reaffirming Chapter 2.155, adopting a military equipment use policy to Title II of the Yuba County Ordinances Code, and receive annual report for 2025-26.
Good morning, Board. Lieutenant Chad Watson with the Sheriff's Department. I'm here for the second reading of the Military Use Annual Report. The report was posted on our website in June. We held a public meeting. There were some questions that we answered during that public meeting, and I'm here just to recommend to reaffirm the military use policy.
I'll open the public hearing. Any board comment? Any public comment? I'll close the public hearing.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Supervisor Vasquez?
Yes.
Supervisor House?
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer?
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford is absent. Supervisor Messick?
Yes.
Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have item 359-2026, Community Development. Ordinance hold public hearing, waive second reading, and adopt ordinance amending section 9.15.014 of chapter 9.15 of the Yuba County Ordinance Code regarding speed limit for North Beale Road.
Morning, Board of Supervisors. Brian Michelson, Public Works. I'm here before you today to hold the second public hearing on the adoption of speed limits on North Beale Road. There are two segments, one from State Route 70 to Linda Avenue, which we have evaluated and has excessive speeds as well as accidents. So we have been able to lower that speed to 40 miles per hour, but cannot lower it any further than that. The second segment is from Linda to just east of the college. That section will remain at the existing posted 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. I've been working with CHP on these, and they're in concurrence with my findings. So at this point, I recommend the adoption of these speeds, which will allow for the enforcement speed with radar at less than 55 miles per hour.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will open the public hearing. Any board comment? Any public comment? Board?
Move to approve.
Roll call?
Supervisor Vasquez,
Yes.
Supervisor House,
Yes.
Supervisor Fuhrer,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford is absent, and Supervisor Messick.
Yes.
Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have item 366-2026, Human Resource Public Hearing, hold public hearing to receive information on the Yuba County vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts for the fiscal year 2026-2027 per California Government Code Section 3.350.3.
Good morning, Chair, members of the board. Tiffany Manuel, Human Resources Director and Risk Manager. So I'm before your board today to share our annual presentation as required under AB 2561, which went into effect January 1 of 2025. We presented similar information to your board last year, as you may recall. To provide a recap as to why we are required to present this information to your board. AB 2561 was adopted in response to concerns about vacancies in local government and the impact that they can have on public services and existing employees. The law is intended to bring greater transparency to vacancy levels and requires agencies to report annually on those vacancies along with recruitment and retention efforts, and then any policies or practices that might create obstacles to hiring. So some additional requirements is that the presentation has to occur before the final budget is adopted. And our union representatives are also allowed to have an opportunity to present during the hearing, although I don't believe any of them are present today. We notified them ahead of time, and nobody had any issues that we were made aware of. In addition to that, if our vacancy levels within each bargaining unit are if they reach 20% or higher, then we are required to report some additional information. But you'll see when I show you the data on the next slide that none of our bargaining units currently meet that threshold. So jumping right into the data that we need to present, as of June 25th, we had a total budgeted 928 positions, a total number of 114 vacant positions with our total countywide vacancy rate at 12.28%. And then looking at the individual bargaining units, you'll see that YCEA, which is our largest bargaining unit, is at 14%. The Deputy District Attorney Association is at 11%. The Probation Peace Officers Association is at 13%. The Management Supervisory, which is our Safety Association, is at 5%, and our Deputy Sheriff's Association is at 12%. So moving right into recruitment efforts, one of our bigger changes this past year was the implementation of NeoGov Insight. We went live with that program July 1st, 2025. So we've had a full year in the program. It allows us to manage much more of the recruitment process in one place, which is nice. From the initial job posting and the application process through establishing and referring employment lists, and then ultimately moving the candidate into onboarding. We're also getting positive feedback from departments on this new program. The Sheriff's Department has reported an increase in both the quantity and quality of applicants. Health and Human Services has also reported larger applicant pools and better quality candidates since we've transitioned into NeoGov, which is encouraging news, particularly because that is one of the areas that we struggled in for many years, is getting our applicant pools to be of a size where we have a nice selection to choose from of candidates. The next piece of NeoGov that we're implementing is Attract, and the use of Attract is a little bit different from what we've traditionally done with recruitment. Traditionally, we post a job, we advertise it through various sources, and then we wait for the candidates to find us and apply. Attract gives us the ability to be a little bit more proactive because NeoGov and government jobs is a source that we advertise through as well. But they have a partnership, and they're used by public agencies across the country. And there's already a large pool of individuals who have created profiles or have applied for public sector jobs through that
through the platform. So Attract gives us the ability to search and source from a talent pool of over approximately 2 million potential candidates. So for example, if we're struggling to recruit for a particular position, instead of just, continuing to advertise and hoping that a candidate sees it, we can use Attract to identify potential candidates based on their experience, their qualifications or certifications or training, and allows us to conduct a more targeted outreach. And so we believe that this will be a very helpful tool for us. So we're currently working on that. This fiscal year, another significant recruitment project that we're working on is updating our merit resolution. Our current merit resolution was last brought before a board for approval in 2006. So this is a significant update. Yuba County is an approved local merit system, or ALMS County. And so in very simple terms, there are merit system requirements that apply over certain public sector personnel programs. And rather than having the state directly administer those personnel functions for us, Yuba County operates an approved local merit system. So it allows us to administer our own recruitment and selection processes locally, but in exchange, our system has to comply with the applicable merit principles and is subject to oversight of CalHR, which is the state's Department of Human Resources. The merit principles are intended to make sure that our employment decisions are based on qualifications and merit, and that our processes are fair, competitive, and free from influence or discrimination. So in 2018, merit system oversight transitioned from CPSHR to CalHR, and with that transition, there was also changes in how compliance with the requirements were evaluated. So that, in addition to our transition to biweekly pay and then wanting to modernize our recruitment processes, those are the main reasons why we're taking a fresh look at the merit resolution now. So our goal isn't to get rid of merit-based hiring recruitment requirements, but it's more so to look at how we meet those requirements and determine where we can make our processes easier, faster, and more flexible in hopes of getting more candidates in here faster. So for example, we're looking at our selection procedures, how we establish our employment lists, and other steps in the recruitment process that may create unnecessary delays or limitations. We're currently meeting with departments to hear directly from them about what works and what doesn't work when they're trying to fill positions. And we'll use that feedback as we work through the update, and ultimately the revised merit resolution will come back before your board at some point in the coming months. So the other side of vacancies and recruitment is retention. So we can continue to improve recruitment, but if we're not also retaining and developing the employees that we have, we're not fully contributing to a solution. So that's where our workforce development additionally comes into play. I've previously presented that plan to your board. So our work continues to focus around the 4 areas that I've previously shared with your board that are identified in the plan, which is recruitment, development, recognition, and culture. We've continued our Yes to Yuba Mindset Academy, which starts with new hire orientation and then builds on that with expectations around teamwork, collaboration, and our cultural practices, and those are offered through various trainings over a period of time. We also completed our first Emerging Leaders Academy this past year. We received raving reviews from our employees that participated in that. The next step this fiscal year is to launch our relaunch our supervisor and management academies, which we're currently planning for December and February. And those will focus on leadership and self-awareness, leading teams, and practical HR and risk management responsibilities that come along with being a supervisor or a manager. So a big part of our workforce development strategy is making sure we're not only recruiting good employees, but we're giving them good supervisors and opportunities to develop and reasons to stay with the county. And then finally, our other main implementation that we are actively working on, again, tied to NeoGov, is Learn and Perform. It's a learning management system and a performance management system. Learn gives us a more centralized way to provide training and development based on an employee's role or their development needs. Perform gives us the tools for effective performance evaluations, but it also allows for ongoing feedback from management and goal setting and manager check-ins, so it's pretty robust. We're excited that the 2 systems connect, and If we identify through, say, a performance process that an employee needs development in a particular area or wants to develop to promote, then we can connect that directly with the training and development opportunities in both of the systems. So we're very excited about how that will work as we move through this fiscal year and get that implemented. So basically, as we continue looking at our vacancies from all sides, how do we get candidates in the door? And then once we get them, how do we keep them? We'll continue watching the data, which we have better access to data now with our current systems. We'll continue listening to departments about where they're having challenges, and we'll make adjustments based on what we learn and where we decide that we need to go as an organization. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
All right, I'll open the public hearing. Is there any board comment?
Yeah, through the chair. Thank you, Tiffany, for all the efforts for you and your department to get the right people in, retain them. A little guidance that I'd like some board support on would be to figure out a way to make sure that candidates that live in Yuba County get some priority, whether it's extra points consideration on an application. We'd call them bonus questions at the railroad. If they cut those bonus questions, they got a little bit more a higher interview rate, something like that. But I know it's nice to cast that net and get all these qualified people from all over the state to get here. But when we have unemployment rates like we do, we need to be leaders of pulling our people up out of the poverty level. So if we take somebody as a security guard and make them a sheriff, then somebody else gets that security guard job. And if we have somebody on government services and they were served right by an eligibility tech, they could be your next eligibility tech. So I think we should focus on that. So I just would hope the board would echo that we want to do something to push Yuba County applicants. So.
Yeah, and just to elaborate a little bit on that, we do a lot of work locally as well. We participate in job fairs. Our goal this fiscal year is to double the participation in job fairs. So if you come across any, I know Supervisor Bradford recently sent me an email communication about one that I hadn't received. So if you come across those, please don't hesitate to reach out because we will immediately sign up. Additionally, with NeoGov, we do have a handful of extremely hard to fill positions that can be specialized. And so that's where primarily that I'm anticipating could potentially help us to maybe bring additional people into the community from other areas that have those specialized skills or education, whatever it may be required.
Yeah, I'm just worried that we might have the right candidate here, and they're not as sharp as the guys in Sacramento and on like tech savvy, and something like this might put them at a disadvantage. So I just appreciate some way to get some extra consideration for our Yuba County residents. But overall, I think the retention efforts are great too. I love seeing the leadership opportunities. I've been through several of those programs at the railroad and here at the county level, and I see it in every agency. So it's kind of nice. And then to see all the awardees from the CSAC programs, it's all stuff that is going to add to retention. So thank you.
Any public comment? All right, thank you. I will now close the public hearing. Correspondence, we just have the one letter report, and then we'll do board and staff member reports. Mr. Vasquez. Rennick?
Sorry, Andy. I'm not letting you out yet. Last week I went to NACO, which is National Association of Counties. It's an annual legislative conference. I'm on the Community Development, Economic Development, and Housing Committee there, and we made some big pushes to get changes made to things like housing vouchers, so that they are incentivized to be used in the county where they're issued, so that people don't come here and get our benefits, go to another higher cost county, and then we're left holding the bag paying for them to live in Monterey County, things like that. So on the workforce side, we had there's some lobbying that's being done to increase funding for things like WIOA, which is our workforce development funds that fund a lot of the adult education and things like that in our community. So there's some changes there to strip some of the California terminology out of the lobby effort, so that it can get considered by the federal government. So some big changes, some good changes, and overall a good event. Also, too, just wanted to let you guys know I have a vacancy on the Community Services Commission. It meets once every other month for like an hour. They decide where money goes for local money we receive from a community services block grant. Helps things like the food bank and other programs. So always looking for individuals to serve on that. So if you work in a department that has somebody who might want to serve on that, or if you have a brother, sister, somebody you think might be a good fit, that'd be great. There's also a lot of other vacancies on the Resource Conservation District, the Behavioral Health Advisory Board, Child Care Planning Board, Agency on Aging. It's not election season, so people aren't jumping up to sign up for these things. So please do, when you see these, try to get people to get involved. I've served with Tom before on Behavioral Health Advisory Board a few years ago, and he still sticks around and comes and sees us. So it was good. And then just my shameless plug for the week is this Aladdin Jr. show that's coming August 2nd and 9th and August 3rd and 10th. And what is this agency? This is the Yuba-Sutter Arts Council, but my daughters have a few friends that are going to be in that show, so it's going to be pretty good. Good opportunity to be well attended at the theater there on Plymouth Street. So if you guys want to go, check it out.
John?
Tomorrow night, Dobbins Organ House Fire is dedicating the fire apparatus. Any of you want to make it up there? It's a pretty cool thing they do up there whenever they get a new vehicle. And across the street at the Alcoof Center, they're having a guest chef fundraising event. So you can drive to Organ House, go to the Alcoof, have dinner, and then across the street to the fire department to the dedication.
Legal?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Yeah.
There we go. So next week, we have 2 days of budget workshop. We begin on Wednesday, 8:30 a.m. In the Marysville Wheatland rooms. This year, the format it'll be very similar. You're going to hear presentations from every department in the county, but there will also be public participation on Zoom as well. There was a new state law that required all board meetings have that option. So our clerk of the board's office and IT have worked diligently to have that function work over in the Marysville and Wheatland rooms. And then I believe Mary has something as well today that she wanted to bring up, but I have nothing further.
Mary?
Yes. So for the record, Mary Pasillas, clerk of the board for Yuba County. And the reason I'm here is to try to get, we'll receive board direction on fees for the usage of the board chambers. This fee was approved by your board on April 28th. It currently sits at $50 per hour, plus if it's after hours, $28 for security fees. Okay. The currently use of our county facilities is mainly used by, of course, your board, Yuba Water Agency. We do have county staff that also use it. Boards, committees, and commissions have also used it. And then it's also available for state and federal entities for conducting public business. And the reason this has come up to the board is that we have received a request from Yuba-Sutter Farm Bureau. They are wanting to use the board chambers on August 25th, and this is for a candidate forum. And the forum is regarding the current seat that is available for District 3 for State Assembly. And so, of course, the two candidates are Don Belza and James Johansson. So, I'm not sure on the fees on what you would like to do. I don't know if you want to avoid them, if you want to go ahead and make the fees current to them. I know before we have had candidate forums and there has been no charge. The county has gone ahead and just accepted the cost for it. But I want to go ahead and bring this to your board because this time it's not the Yuba-Sutter Chamber of Commerce, it is the Yuba-Sutter Farm Bureau.
Sure. This sounds like something that's a public benefit, so I would propose that we waive the fee, but let's go ahead and for everyone else.
Yeah, definitely a public benefit.
Okay. So, yeah, no fee.
If I could, Chair, just to make sure we're clear, because maybe this will help Mary in the future. So if it's a candidate forum and then they're running for a public office here in Yuba County, should the county just waive the fee if somebody wants to host a candidate forum here in the board chambers?
Through the chair. There's a number of events that have happened here where chairs are moved, equipment's broken. I think that we should establish a first time you break the equipment, that's it. We've gone from $20 billion to $40 billion, and you can see the difference in the meeting lengths. And I think we need to be very careful about people who continually break our systems. So,
We definitely are monitoring that, so.
monitoring doesn't do it. Kicking them off does it. Would appreciate that. Because we have certain groups that seem to think they own the boardroom too. And they have done things continuously for the past 18 years. Thank you.
Through the chair. I just would like to add that on the public forum side for candidates, we just want to make sure that if we do make it a standing that we're going to waive it, that all of the candidates for those offices are invited. So like this case, there's only 2, but in the primary season, there's 15 candidates. I've heard where people weren't invited and it turns into a tool. So just want to make sure it's a fair deal.
Through the chair, I do believe that through the Farm Bureau has mentioned that they have invited other candidates to come, but right now confirmed it's only for State District 3, but they are trying to get more candidates to show up.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We will recess in memory of Tony McDaniel, and we will take a 8-minute break from Mr. Vasquez.
Excuse me, I have one announcement for closed session. I'm sorry.
No break from Mr. Vasquez.
Too late.
It's very quick. Just a correction to the agenda description for 398, strike available for public inspection pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 Subdivision F, because it is not subject to disclosure under the Public Records Act.
You now have 7 minutes.
Watch, you can support or sponsor, help keep the community aware with Yuba-Sutter.LIVE.